follow us while we rock and roll.
And Salsa gets her paws wet.
What's a polytunnel, and why is there so many of them on this highway?
And another check mark off the bucket list.
2 empty nesters and 1 brave dog. We're Casey, Rodney, and Salsa. Currently, we're traveling through Europe, navigating the Schengen Shuffle in our motorhome, Holland. We are sharing real travel life highs and the happy detours along the way. Please hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, make sure you bookmark our webpage, and follow us on Facebook at Empty Nest Adventures TV. Welcome to another edition of Empty Nest Adventures
TV.
Last time, if you watched us, we were at Los Olivos.
Los Olivos.
A campground that I guess is the Olives.
Yes.
We had been down by near Cartagena, Spain, which is along the southern coast. So that's how we
Beautiful.
how we continued heading west.
Yes.
So we could see a little bit of every once in a while we could see the Mediterranean poking through, but for the most part we weren't real close to it. Our first stop was for lunch, and we stopped in a parking lot for a tourist attraction, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, it was a geode mine.
Yes.
Where you can find geodes.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we didn't plan it ahead, which we don't plan too far ahead, most of it. So we weren't able to get a tour.
Yeah, so we didn't go into the geode cave or anything, because it was all booked up that day, and it was on a Sunday, I think.
Yes.
So it's kind of unusual, but I guess Sunday's a popular day for going into caves. I don't know. So, but we did sit there. We visited the gift shop.
Yes.
And you made a little purchase while we were there.
Of course I did.
So we got a memento of being there, and then we had lunch. And then
it had beautiful views.
We moved on. And I think that leg was when we started discovering the polytunnels.
Yes.
Which we heard someone else call them polytunnels. They're basically the
greenhouses, but they've got the plastic over them, so that's why they call them. They're the
Yeah,
we call them polytunnels now.
Yeah.
So
most people probably call them greenhouses.
Yeah. Hoop houses or whatever, but.
And we just kept seeing so many of them that you actually started doing some research.
Yes.
On finding out why there were so many of them.
Oh, I mean, there were miles and miles and miles of them. Kilometer and kilometer and kilometers of them.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I did a little research, and that area in Spain they produce food for all of Spain, England, the rest of the EU. So basically it's the fruit and vegetable capital.
Yes.
And they do it because they have 3,000 hours of sunlight a year. And so they can do the polytunnels. They get all the sunlight that they need to do year-round food, and they do the polytunnels to control the humidity because it's very dry there.
Yeah.
It doesn't rain that often, so they can keep the humidity where they want to continually grow tomatoes year-round. It was tomatoes, squash, green beans, cucumbers.
Did you say peppers were in there?
I think peppers were in there. Yeah. And they were growing them year round. We were looking in the ones that were close to the highway, and you could see.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then when they ended, that was when all of the fruit and vegetable packing plants popped up for a little bit, and then it went right back to the tunnels and
more polytunnels
to the greenhouses and stuff, and they were starting to put them in just about any place they could get them. I think you'd see them up on the hills,
up on the mountain
cliff edges, and everything else. So we started seeing that, and that was really a large part of the trip. I think the last leg we started not seeing them anymore, but the rest of that day and the next day. Now, that night, I think, is when we stayed in Cabo de Gado, which I guess has something to do with the cat or something, I don't know. But
Cabo de Gata.
Cabo de Gata, and that was a parking lot that was right on the beach.
Oh, it was fantastic. It really was nice. We talked about staying an extra day, but
Yeah.
we didn't. We stayed a little later the next afternoon.
And there were already several campers there when we got there.
Oh, yeah.
And some of them seemed like they probably had been there more than a day or two.
It was just a parking lot, but you walk up to the beach. I mean, it
Yeah.
was so close to the beach, and, you know, they had areas for you to wash off your sandals and that kind of thing. They also had...
And they had like some sailboats out there
Yeah.
that were kind of neat to look at and stuff. And of course, the big surprise was that Salsa got into the water.
Salsa, actually, I went into just below my knee,
Yep.
and Salsa followed me in. She actually went in the water. It was amazing. It was shocking.
Still afraid of the waves when they would come in.
Yeah,
But,
but she did really well.
yeah, she got her feet wet up to her ankles, I guess.
Yep.
Dogs have ankles, so. You said there was a surprise, which was...
The tower.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was a like a defensive tower there. And I guess normally you could go in and tour it, but it was under construction. And it was kind of interesting because it had that stairway that went up to that second level on the outside, and I guess there was a platform that goes across there. Because I mean, if you have to jump across that to see the second floor, that's a little
I would
scary.
make it.
But so we walked around that tower before we left. We had a pretty good night.
We had a very nice night.
That was a pretty relaxing spot. Like I said, lots of campers were there, so
The weather
kind of
was
a popular
gorgeous.
spot. The weather was nice. We were able to get our feet wet in the sea there, and so that was probably a pretty good. We'll probably give that place a pretty good rating
Oh, yes. It was.
for being there. So
I really liked it.
then we took off the next day. Ran into more polytunnel greenhouses along the way, and just it's hard to. I don't know if we really got a picture that captures it, just how many there are. And you know, we could see the sea from the highway, and it'd be a couple kilometers away, and it was nothing
But polytunnels.
but the polytunnels. And then every once in a while, we would see a place that actually sold the plastic that goes on them, which of course you would need.
You need it.
But other than that, it was either that and the produce packaging plants that we saw. We stopped off in a little town. I think it was called La Rabata or Rabita or something. La Rabita.
Turn slightly right.
For lunch, and that was another place that really not much to speak of. Dirt parking lot.
Yeah.
We just ate, and then we ran, took off.
Got back on the highway.
And we went down to the next town we were going to stay, which was actually a parking lot for a mall. Not quite as nice as the one that we stayed at previously, I think, before we got to Los Olivos. But it was a parking lot. We got out that evening and walked around the mall.
Yep.
Noticed it had a Dunkin Donuts, which we'll get to later. And finally made our way upstairs because that's where all the
restaurants were all upstairs.
Yep.
And that's it seems to be pretty typical.
Yeah. And so we decided to have Mexican food
In
Spain.
Hey, when you're in the United States, I mean, you get the Italian, Chinese, and Mexican food. That's some of our favorite. And you don't get a lot of Mexican food in Europe.
So we partook of that, and our waitress spoke English, though we tried to do as much Spanish as we could while we were
Yes, she spoke a
ordering our
little
food.
bit of English, and we speak a little bit of Spanish, and we got it through.
So, but it was very good.
It was very nice.
Yeah,
They even
very
brought
good food.
salsa, a bowl of water.
Yep. So we had dinner, and then we tucked ourselves back in the parking lot. There was only a couple of other campers there with us because on the other side of the mall and the highway, there was this big open parking area that I think that's where most of the campers
That's where
stayed.
most of them.
And we probably should have moved over there and stayed there, but we stayed where we were at.
We're pretty comfortable.
The mall closed at like 10 o'clock, and I think where we were parked was kind of maybe where a lot of the employees parked, because
Yeah.
it seemed like from
At
10 to
o'clock,
10:30.
a lot of people came out.
Yeah, we had a lot of people come out, but nobody bothered us.
There was a water park across the highway, and
Yep.
you know, it was definitely an activity hub.
Yeah, because we got up the next morning, and I ran in and got us some Dunkin Donuts.
Woohoo!
So we had Dunkin Donuts for breakfast. I don't know how long it's been since we've had something like that for breakfast.
Oh my
but,
gosh, I make eggs and bacon every single morning.
Yep.
Almost.
So I think we had some donuts when we were in Girocaster, Albania, but that's been a while ago. So then we got everything closed up in the camper, and we went over for our first excursion in Mercadona.
Yeah.
Yep. To do some grocery shopping. And that was pretty uneventful. We were kind of trying to determine what kind of grocery store it was. Felt a little like an Aldi.
Yeah. Kind of
Turn slightly
has off-brand names,
Yeah,
kind of thing. It kind of felt like that.
Yeah, it didn't have a lot of variety in the things that it had, except for like the meat, where it had you know, pork and
Please follow the route
beef
for 51 kilometers.
and rabbit.
Yes, it had rabbit and slices of turkey. You know, we don't usually we get ground turkey occasionally, or in the States, we would get ground turkey, or for holidays, buy a turkey. But they actually have turkey breasts sliced into thin slices like you would make on a sandwich or have on what I plan on.
A deli too. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
what I plan on doing with it is, and I mean it's raw turkey, so you still have to cook it. I plan on making turkey Manhattans with it one night when we're needing something filling and comfort food.
So after that, on our way out of town, we just filled up with gas and made our way to really which is the big stop of this week that we were going to. And we kind of alluded to this in our last video. We're headed toward Gibraltar, the Rock of Gibraltar.
Yes.
I don't know if they still teach anything about that in school, but I remember in geography learning about it because it's that narrow passage that separates the ocean from the sea. So it was an important defensive point, I guess.
Europe to Africa.
Yeah, Europe to Africa, and then from the Atlantic to the Mediterranean.
Yep.
So it was just something that we wanted to see. So we made our way down there, and we found out on the way down there, because even if you look up Google and you type in Gibraltar, it'll come up Gibraltar, Spain.
Yep.
So we thought it was part of Spain.
It's not.
No?
Can you guess? Now, I'm going to say this, and you can put up the flags for the guess.
Oh.
Is it Japan? Is it part of Africa? Is it, we've already told you it's not Spain. Is it part of France? Is it part of England?
Can I phone a friend?
Yeah. What do you think it is?
Yeah.
It is.
And as we got closer, we could tell because their license plates are GBZ, I think it was.
For
because
Gibraltar.
Gibraltar is a territory of Great Britain.
It's the UK.
Yep.
We actually had to go through passport control and have our passports scanned.
Yep.
And in Gibraltar, we actually got to do something that we needed to do, which was there's a new system for tracking not just your passport. You have to get your picture taken and your fingerprints.
Yeah, they call it an entry-exit.
Yeah, the entry-exit system.
Yeah.
And Gibraltar had it all set up, and we got to do it. It took 3 minutes.
Yeah, wasn't very
It was
long at
so
all
easy.
to register and
Yep.
get through.
And now we don't have to worry about registering when we get to the UK.
So we stayed in Spain
Yep.
because we were at a marina that has parking spaces for campers, and it was a pretty popular area. It was,
Yeah, the
I think
boat-
there's supposed to be like 100 spaces there, and it was probably half full.
You can come in by boat and park there, or you can come in by camper.
And there was a couple impressive boats right in front of us.
wow.
Yeah, you kept trying to catch the eye of the guy on board to see if we could get a tour or
I
something.
want
but
the
that never
blue
happened.
boat. I wanted to go on that blue catamaran. It was majestic.
Yes, yes. So before we got to passport control, the day that we went to Gibraltar, we actually ended up staying there 3 days because obviously the first day we got there it was kind of late.
Yeah.
The second day we got there, when we woke up, you couldn't even see the top of Gibraltar because of the cloud cover.
Yeah, it was cloudy, and we just decided, and there was a huge
5,000 passenger cruise ship that was there.
We were parked right where we could see all the cruise ships coming in and out.
Yeah. And part of the reason you go up there is so you can see Africa from
you
up
can see
there.
Morocco.
And you're not going to be able to see it through clouds. So we decided to wait another day, and that was the right choice to make.
It
because
absolutely was.
It was much clearer. It was a much more beautiful day.
It was gorgeous.
And there were 2 cruise ships that came in, but one came in early, and then one came in the afternoon. So there was kind of a window of time
in between.
In mid-morning. Now, artificial intelligence told us to go really early, which we probably should have, but we got, I think we left about 9:30 or something.
I don't
do real early. Yeah, we don't do early. And when we got to the first place, which is actually kind of the taxi stand, because the taxi guides are the one that give you the tours.
Yes.
When we got there, all the rest of them had been sold out for the day. And I imagine a lot of them were probably reserved for the second cruise ship coming in. So we ended up having to walk a little bit further down to the square that is in town.
We did a lot of walking that day.
I think it was 3 kilometers alone just to get to the square, and then of course we had to walk back, so that was 6 kilometers of our day right there.
I did over 5 miles.
And we wandered around a little bit trying to find out where we were supposed to be to possibly find a taxi in this square. We finally found one, and we were kind of standing there with the group, and this guy asked us if we wanted to go and how many of us there was, and so it was just she and I. Salsa stayed back in the camper just because it was going to be logistic problems again. And we got paired up with, was it 3 couples from
Slovenia, and they were younger they were younger. They were mid-20s.
Yeah, mid to upper 20s maybe.
Same age as our kids.
Yeah. So we all got into the camper with them, or the van with them, to take our tour. And it was another one of those things we lucked out because we got a great tour guide.
Oh yes.
He was wonderful. Wanted to make sure that we were enjoying ourselves, seeing everything we wanted to see, and explained all the stops that we went on, because we started heading up the rock, which you could walk up there. I think he said it takes 4 hours to walk up it.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. So.
I mean, you can walk up it, and there were some people that were, but they're doing a lot of construction. There's also a sky tram that you can take up there,
out of service.
It's out of service until next year, and it's been out of service for almost a year.
The cables weren't even on the towers anymore.
Yeah.
So because we were going to take the cable car, but that wasn't possible. So
they're doing some major renovations to it. So you have that, but because that was closed, then you had the walking. But people who were trying to walk up there, it was so narrow, and there were so many taxis. I would have had a heart attack.
Yeah, it was
plain and simple.
Taking the taxi tour was definitely
the way to go.
The better option. And one of the other things is that the top part of it is a natural reserve.
Yep.
So to get into the natural reserve is 30 euros.
Right.
So you have to pay that whether you walk up or take the taxi.
Yep.
So part of the taxi fee is that entrance fee. It was like 60 euros a piece.
It
So
was
it's really only 30 euros for the taxi.
Yeah, 60 euros a piece,
Yep.
and he paid for the vans to
Yeah.
get into the park.
Yeah, and just having him as a tour guide was worth that amount.
Yes.
Yeah. The first thing we actually went to was the Pillars of Hercules, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, and that
We
was just
did.
kind of a
Yeah.
little lookout place. But it was the first place that we could see Morocco
Yep.
and the mountains up there. So we were up there, had a nice little lookout, had a little display for Hercules things that we took some pictures of. That was that St. Michael's Cave.
Cathedral.
Or cave.
Yes.
Yeah, and so it wasn't like a huge cave to go through. I think we had 10 or 15, 20 minutes, I think it was, to
Yeah.
go through it, and the gift shop. So we strolled through it, and it was really neat. Some of the lights that they do on it,
Yes,
with the music and
the
stuff.
music
had
that
like
they
a
play in the
theater in there.
lights.
You could sit. Yeah, theater. You could sit and watch the lights play out, and we were trying to keep track of.
We were trying to keep up with the young kids.
Yes. Well, we were just trying to stay together with them.
Yeah, so that when we came out, we were all together, and
Yep.
man, they can run upstairs, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
My old
Yeah, we
knees
kept
were a
telling them,
little.
it's like, we're old.
So once we caught up to them and said something about us being old, we noticed that they kind of slowed down a
Yeah,
little
they'd
bit
slow
and
down,
kept up
they'd
with us.
keep an eye on us or something. So,
They were wonderful.
yeah. After the cave, we headed further up, and there were more lookouts that we went on to, but that's also when we first started getting more and more of the monkeys.
Yep.
Are they macaws? Is that what they are?
They're monkey. I don't know. I don't remember what kind, but they're
So,
monkeys.
and you could tell with the cable car closed, the taxi business was just booming.
Yes.
Because we would be in a line and there would be 10 or 12 in front of us and 10 and 12 behind us.
Yep.
Of the taxi vans doing the tours. So that meant that we would get stopped, and when you get stopped and your window's down, you get a monkey in your window.
Yes. And
looking for food.
Our taxi driver was pretty good with them. I mean,
Yeah.
I was sitting right next to him, and they would come up and sit right on his windowsill, and he'd give them a one or two, and then he'd tap them and tell them to go.
Yep.
And they'd go.
Yep. So that was kind of the road up was just we would stop at a place and get off, and we would have a lookout. There was that one that was really high that had the glass floor.
Yep.
That you could see the other side of the rock, so you could see the ships that were out in the area out there, as well as you could look over in the harbor and the marina that we were parked in.
Yep.
I think at one point we could actually see Holly.
We could see Holly.
From the vantage point we were at. And then we stopped at one place after the lookout, so we could actually have the monkeys climb on us and feed them. He was feeding them like little pasta shells.
Yeah.
Dried pasta shells. So he would show us how to put our hands out to hold them, and then put the pasta shells on our hand, and the monkey would just sit on my arm and just take them out of there.
I chose not to do it.
Yeah, she decided to be videographer for that part of it. So we got footage of me feeding them and putting them back on the rail. But it was just wasn't very heavy. Didn't.
I asked him what their hands felt like.
Yeah, just very soft, and so then we started kind of going back down. But you kind of go down and back up and a little bit. We went under the stairway that it shows you. I think it's 400 steps to climb that stairway. He said most people come down that way. They don't go up that way.
Yeah.
And we went down to, I think it was Princess Anne's Battery.
Yep.
That it was called, which was just kind of like a cannon place that had one of the cannons there, because obviously, it was a very important military point. Had World War II tunnels in it.
Well, and that's
and
how
some siege tunnels. And
that's
some
how
other
the
things.
English ended up with Gibraltar, was that they were at war, and when Spain surrendered, they gave England Gibraltar in perpetuity. Is that how you say it? Perpetuity. So it's forever.
Yeah.
England will own it forever. Where some of the other islands would be like for 100 years or 99 years, and they've since been given back to the country.
Yeah.
They've been turned back over to the country that they were, or they are no longer under English rule.
Yep.
So, but Gibraltar is from the 1700s on. It is always then, and apparently 98% of the population, when they go to the polls to see whether they want to become part of Spain or whether they want to stay English, 98% of the population says that they want to stay under English, under England.
And I think there's a good reason for that. And it was how we ended off the taxi tour.
Yeah.
And that was with fish and chips.
Yes. That was
I think
very
they just
good.
want to stay British because they can have their fish and chips.
They eat good fish and chips.
Yeah. So, which we had.
Yes.
We were recommended a place by the
Taxi driver.
Taxi cab driver, taxi tour guide. And we saw the men from the Slovenian group that they were there. So obviously they followed his advice as well.
They were coming in and getting takeout.
And while we were sitting there, we actually were seated inside the restaurant.
Yep.
Where most of the dining was outside. And there was a couple that had bought theirs to go, I think.
Yes.
That were actually, it was from the cruise ship that was parked out there.
Yeah, they were from I believe the Norwegian Dawn, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was a Norwegian Dawn.
Norwegian Dawn.
They both were from around the Chicago area.
Yep.
So they just ended up sitting and talking and having lunch with us.
Yeah, and the table
while we were
next to
there.
us was free, so they sat down and had their takeout, and we had a wonderful conversation with them. It was so nice.
Yep. So we had a good time. So we were fueled up on fish and chips for the walk back.
Yep.
Which was the 3-kilometer walk. Had to go back through the passport services, which was obviously quicker this time.
And we did find out AI was right when it encouraged us to leave Salsa in the camper, because we found out that the monkeys, they attack the big dogs.
Especially bigger dogs.
Yeah, they don't like them, and they'll gang up and attack them. So it was a really good thing.
Yep.
And it wasn't that hot, and the vents were all open in the camper.
Yeah, there was a good breeze because we were right on the water too here in Marina, so the breeze was coming up. So we did the thing where we walked back across the runway. We had to wait for a plane to land before we.
That is the coolest thing. In order to get into Gibraltar, once you go through passport control, there's a runway right there, and it's an active runway. They will close down the fence, and you have to wait until the plane taxis or lands or whatever on the runway, and then when it's clear, they open it back up, and then you can walk through.
So that was kind of our nights. I mean, it was usually pretty quiet at night, unless a cruise ship was leaving. You could hear their horns blowing when they were leaving or arriving, and then the occasional plane landing, but it's not a busy airport.
No.
So we really expected a whole lot.
It was on our bucket list. It was one of those things we want, but it wasn't high up there.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Venice, where we just knew we had to.
And I think we had a better time probably there than we did in Venice.
I think we did.
Yeah, we just did.
I think we had a really good time.
So we were pretty much at the end of the week by that time, and we headed north to Jerez, Spain. And this was kind of an unusual place to camp.
Yeah.
Or park or whatever it was.
But I would still, what would you rate it?
The one that was in the shopping center?
Yeah.
I would probably give it a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
four and a half, almost.
We pulled in, and of course, one of the big anchor stores of this big, huge shopping area was IKEA.
It was IKEA.
So she thought we were parking in the IKEA parking lot again. But no, this is actually a designated camping area that's right off the parking lot of this huge shopping area.
Yeah.
I mean,
Outdoor
all
mall.
kinds of shops, yeah.
Yeah. And grocery store and everything.
I guess it's part of it's a camper and van store and repair shop as
Yes.
well. So they must have set up the camp there. It's gated, so it's secure. You
Yes.
can't get in and out without a code.
And it basically, it's a gravel driveway.
Yeah.
But they had bathrooms, they had laundry, they had hot showers, so they had a dump station.
Yeah, all the services
So they had
there, yeah, so-
everything that we needed, plus a grocery store, and we could go
Yeah.
and wander around the stores.
Pet food store, because we got pet food and some treats for Salsa, and we went grocery shopping twice
Yeah.
at the Alcampa grocery
Yep.
store that was there. We walked around the other stores,
And
we walked around Saturday afternoon. That place was busy.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
we didn't know it, but it was Mother's Day.
Yeah, it was Mother's Day in Spain, so that's why all the
yeah.
restaurants had lines of
And
people
the
out
1st of
them.
May was a holiday as
Yeah.
well, so it was a holiday weekend.
Yep.
And I mean, the restaurants all had lines waiting outside, so we weren't going to do that.
So we stayed there a few nights, just because it was a comfortable place to stay, and we could get some things done. We got the awning out, got the chairs out, and sat outside for a
Sat
while.
in the sun for a little bit.
Even though I think technically you're not supposed to, but everybody else was. I mean,
Yeah.
there was a camper out there from the Netherlands that they had an entire dining set outside underneath their awning. So nobody really said anything. And it was all, there was nobody there. There was a woman that came, I think, in the morning, and in the evening,
Clean the bathrooms and the
clean up the
showers.
bathrooms and empty the trash and stuff. But that was it. It was all automated by itself.
Yeah,
So,
but we needed that. We needed to have all the services, because in the Gibraltar one, you had no services. So we needed all the
Yep.
services. And we also needed a day to just veg. I was tired.
Yeah, because we the day we went to Gibraltar, which was the day before we left, we had gone over 10 kilometers.
Yeah.
So that was a long day, and it was tiring physically, but it was also tiring just seeing all these things and taking all of that in. I think
You just
there
need
was
a day
more
to
at Gibraltar
rest.
than what we expected, so
Yes.
that kind of did. So it was nice to have a few days and relax and be in a kind of a safe, secure place. The only really little problem we had was where we were parked. There was a gas station behind us, so you'd hear people back there fueling up and getting gas, but it was usually pretty quiet.
It was
overnight.
quiet at night.
Yep.
Yeah.
That would be this edition of Empty Nest Adventures.
TV.
Don't forget to subscribe and thumbs up if you like this video.